the thing you were walking toward wasn't what you thought it was at all. Welcome back to Karma Quietly Whispers. I'm your whisperer, and tonight we're going somewhere you should never go alone. Into the trees, into the dark, into a place where something or someone is already waiting for you. This story comes from a young woman, we'll call her Mara, who posted her experience on r/LetsNotMeet. She was 19 years old at the time. She wrote about it years later because it took her years to truly understand what she'd walked into. Or rather, who she'd walked toward. It started as a perfectly ordinary afternoon. Mara and her friend had gone into the woods to pick mushrooms. If you've ever done this, and many of you in Eastern Europe or rural areas probably have, you know how it goes. You walk slowly, eyes scanning the forest floor, focused, narrowed, looking for the curve of a cap beneath a leaf, the pale stem rising from the earth. You get into a kind of trance. Your world shrinks down to just what's in front of you. That trance is exactly what he was counting on. Mara spotted what she thought were mushrooms ahead of her. She began walking toward them. Slowly, carefully, eyes locked on that spot in the distance, trying to make out the shapes through the dappled light filtering through the canopy. She kept walking, kept staring, her brain doing what brains do, trying to make sense of a shape, trying to resolve the image, trying to decide, mushroom or not? She was close now, still staring, still processing. And then something shifted in her perception, the way it does when you've been staring at one of those optical illusions and suddenly the image flips, and you can never unsee what. She wasn't looking at mushrooms, she was looking at a man. A man standing completely still among the trees, just standing there, staring back at her, and he had been this whole time, while she walked toward him, step by step, getting closer and closer. He'd been watching her approach, silently, patiently, and he was smiling. Not a warm smile, not a surprised smile, not even a creepy stranger smile. She described it as the smile of someone who knew exactly what was happening, who had perhaps been watching her for a while, who was pleased with how things were going. And he was doing something with his hand. He was beckoning her. The universal come here gesture. Slow, deliberate. I need you to sit with that for a second. She didn't notice him, not as a person, until she was already close. She'd been walking straight toward him, drawn like she was on a string, for who knows how long, and the entire time, he watched and smiled and gestured for her to keep coming. She ran back to her friend, and here's the part that makes my skin crawl just a little bit more. She and her friend laughed it off. They didn't even leave the woods. 19-year-old logic. He's probably just a weird local, right? Probably a prank. And honestly, I don't blame them. That's what you do at 19. You minimize. You laugh because the alternative, really sitting with what just almost happened, is too unsettling. But years later, Mara sat with it, and she came back to Reddit with questions she still couldn't answer. What was he doing there? Why was he standing so perfectly still that she mistook him for scenery? Did he see her coming from far away and decide in that instant to stay still, to let her approach, to see how close she'd get? Was this practiced? Had he done this before? And what would have happened if she hadn't snapped out of it when she did? Here's what I think, and I've read enough of these to have an opinion. There are people in this world who are opportunists, who don't have a specific plan, but who test, who probe, who see a young woman alone, or nearly alone, in an isolated place and who decide to find out what's possible. The beckoning gesture tells me he wasn't confused, wasn't lost, wasn't just some harmless eccentric. He was inviting her further in, further away from her friend, further into the trees. The smile tells me he thought he had her. He almost did. There's an old hunter's principle. Stillness is camouflage. Predators know this. They know that movement draws the eye. That if you stay still enough, for long enough, the prey will sometimes walk right to you. She was 19 and alone in the woods, and she was walking toward him like she was being pulled on a wire. If you take nothing else from this story, take this. In isolated places, forests, trails, empty parks, rural roads, your eyes will sometimes deceive you. Your brain pattern matches. It fills in gaps. And some people have learned to exploit that. If something in the distance seems unclear, seems to resolve slowly, don't keep walking toward it to figure it out. Stop, call out, or better yet, step back and get your friend first. And if you ever see someone standing very, very still in the trees, watching you come closer, run. Mara got lucky. She woke up from the trance a few feet too early for whatever he had planned. She's fine. She's okay. But she's also been thinking about this for 4 years, which tells you everything about what that moment lodged in her psyche. Some encounters leave a splinter, even if nothing happened. Even if you can't fully explain why it scared you, the body keeps score and hers knew something was very wrong before her mind caught up. Trust that instinct, always. So that's what I'll leave you with tonight. The woods are beautiful. The world is mostly safe, but there are people in it who have learned to weaponize stillness, patience, and our own distracted minds. Stay aware. Stay with someone. And if something in the distance looks strange and still and is drawing you closer without you understanding why, let it stay a mystery. I'm your whisperer, and I'll be here waiting for you next time. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment below. I want to hear your forest stories, and subscribe to hear more of what hides between the trees.